psychological aspects of risk. It is an important issue because we are not only calculating risk, we are human beings that are taking these risks and they are making decisions. So each risky situation is consisting of two sides, quantitative and psychological. To start understanding where psychological aspects arise from, we will have to start explaining what St. Petersburg paradox is. And it is very easily explained by a simple example. Let's say a casino offers a game of chance for a single player in which a fair coin is tossed at each stake. The pot starts at $2 and it's doubled every time a head appears. The first time a tail appears, the game ends and the player wins whatever is in the pot. Thus, the player wins $2 if a tail appears on the first toss, $4 if a head appears on the first toss and tail on the second, $8 if a head appears on the first two tosses and tail on the third, $16 if a head appears on the first three tosses and a tail on the fourth, and so on. In short, the player wins 2 to the power of k dollars, where k equals number of tosses. K must be a whole number and greater than 0, obviously. So, what would be the fair price to pay the casino for entering the game? This is the question. To answer this, one needs to consider what would be the average payout. With probability 1/2, the player wins $2. With probability 1/4, the player wins $4. With probability 1/8, the player wins $8, and so on. The expected value is thus an infinitely calculatable number also. The St. Petersburg paradox states that basically we should invest in this game an infinite number of dollars. Obviously, this is not reasonable. We cannot bet infinite number, first of all, and second of all, we cannot, it's not reasonable at all. And the St. Petersburg paradox is basically developed by Nicholas Bernoulli. It turned out it is an interesting story for those of you who are interested in this, that one of his cousins, Daniel Bernoulli, has solved and has found a way to solve this paradox. He says that determination of the value of an item must not be based on the price, but rather on the utility it yields. There is no doubt that a gain of 1,000 ducats is more significant than the pauper than to a rich man, though both gain the same amount. So there is a notion of the so-called risk utility. Risk utility or risk tolerance is the amount of satisfaction or pleasure received from a potential payoff. Utility rises at a decreasing rate for a person who is risk averse. Those who are risk seeking have higher tolerance for risk, and their satisfaction increases when more payoff is at stake. The risk neutral approach achieves a balance between risk and payoff. The individual preference towards risk is a fundamental concept in economics and especially in the general field of investment choice. A rational risk-averse investor is emerging as the ruling paradigm, a homo economicus, a rational maximizer, unemotional and insensitive to the surrounding context, which basically means, and this is really the cornerstone in investment science, is that an investor liking income but is disliking a risk. So he likes reward but does not like risk. A somewhat contradictory paradigm is the so-called prospect theory, developed by Kahneman and Tversky by using numerous experience on individual choice. Either the essence of human being is encoded with irrationality or non-rationality, or at least the concept of a rational investor should be reviewed and widened. The tricky part of changing a paradigm in social science is that no experiment or survey could be conclusive and indisputable enough. So let's see an experiment, and I would like you to pause several times the video from now on. Imagine the following situation. You have €100 and you are given a choice. Receive another €50 or toss a coin for 50% chance to win another €100 or 50% chance to win nothing. What would you choose? Let us try a very simple experiment with you. Imagine the following situation. You have €100 and you are given a choice. Receive another €50 or toss a coin for 50% chance to win €100 and 50% chance to win nothing. What would you choose? Pause the video and think about it. Afterwards, we'll discuss furthermore. So, now that you have paused the video and thought about it, you have probably reached to the conclusion what significant majority of the people has done. Significant majority of people choose the non-risky alternative and get the sure €50, and by doing so they confirm the risk-aware hypothesis. Now, second experiment. Imagine a similar situation. You have €150 and you're given a choice. Lose €50 straight away or toss a coin for a 50% chance to lose €100 and 50% chance to lose nothing. What would you choose? Take a pause, think about it, and return to the video in a while. Now that you thought about it and thought about the given choice in which you're actually going to lose money, you have probably reached what most people have reached in the similar situation. Significant majority of people choose the risky alternative, to take risk for the chance of not losing anything. So all of a sudden they become loss averse. Loss aversion is not specific to human being. Actually, there have been animal models, actually animals used as model of behavior for which the same experiments have been done. For example, bumblebees were foraging in an artificial field with certain flowers with 3 milliliters of nectar for sure, or risky flowers with 6 milliliters of nectar or nothing. Bumblebees preferred the certain flowers with the non-risky option. What does this mean on the decision in social context? The nature of decision-making fundamentally changes within social context. A paradigm that adequately represents rationality violation is the loss-averse behavior which we have shown just now. A perfectly rational responder should accept any offer randomly as the payoff in the same. In reality, players systematically do not conform to these predictions. And so let us explain some about the prospect theory. So if we look at the graph, on the left side we have perfect rational agent, and obviously from what we already know, in the reality nobody acts like this. So we have reached the conclusion of Kahneman and Tversky, where there are irregularities in the rationality. They are depicted on the graph, and people that are put in front of a losing proposition are more risk-prone. People that are put in a, let's say, winning proposition are more risk-averse. So, let me put you to another experiment. You have to choose between two instant deals. The first has a 100% probability of returning X euros, and the second has a 50% probability of returning double the X amount of euros and 50% of probability of returning zero. Which one would you choose? And there are 12 possible situations. 6 of them are denoting winning probabilities, 6 of them are denoting losing probability, as you see on the graph here. Take a moment and fill out the survey for yourself, and you're probably going to have to know a bit more about yourself and your risk-taking. But let us see what happens when we have put the same questions asking professional investors on the same questions. And the results are as follows. You can see on the graph. So the result of this survey are shown here on the graph. Mind that these are professional risk takers that are excellent at rational, informed choices. And what we have here is basically the average answer or the percentage of the people who have decided to risk, and these are the 12 different situations. And we can clearly see, first of all, that going from small bet towards higher bets, higher invested amount, we can clearly see that people prefer not to risk, and at the end, where we invest 100,000 euro, actually only 5% of the people, of the investors, have decided that they could take a risk. So basically, this sort of proves the hypothesis of risk aversion. The higher the risk, the less number of people are prepared to take the risk. This is one. Second of all, we can see that up until the small amount, hundreds, these two sides, the losing and the winning proposition, are actually more or less similar. But what happens after that is very strange. We can see that there is a clear asymmetry where on the losing side 44 and then about 40% are ready to risk for the chance to avoid the loss of 1,000 euros, 100,000 euros obviously, whereas when the same people were asked about earning or taking a risk on winning 100,000 euros, they have basically said they would not risk it. So basically, we see huge discrepancy, huge difference, and once again, I would like to remind you that these are professional risk takers. These are not everyday people who do not think about this in normal terms. What would happen if we ask them everyday non-professional risk takers? Well, this is another graph which shows the blue graph is the ones that we have seen so far, and the red is the graph taken from a survey from among 300 students. Students not necessarily professional risk takers. You can see that when they're answering the risky winning proposition, they are actually a lot more risk takers, a lot more risky behavior than the professional investors. Maybe this is because they do not take into account what sort of money this is, what sort of the amount of money. But you can see again that there is a clear distinction between the negative and the positive side, although basically we are asking them the same question. Would you risk it or not for the same amount of money, for $1, for $10, and so on and so forth. And again, this basically proves that there are differences in perception when we are speaking about winning propositions and when we're speaking about losing propositions. And this is what prospect theory is all about. We can go a bit further and we can ask these questions here, the next one, and we can actually go so far as in calculating the individual preference towards risk for everyone. we're not going to do this because in order to do this for each of you individually, we have to input your results in the model and have some sort of a result. But I'm going to show you some depiction of what a typical individual preference towards risk looks like. It is, first of all, a number between 0 and 1 or 100%, where 0 is absolutely no risk, absolutely person that is absolutely irrationally afraid of risk, whereas 1 or 100 is a person that would risk in any situation, no matter what. So the absolute gambler. Obviously, these are extreme values that would probably not happen at all. And what we have in the middle is a person of score of 0.5 or 50%. Well, the theory says that this person should be rationally thinking. And of course, there is an amount, a reasonable boundary around the rational decision maker, which we could call rational decision makers. And this here represents the result of one person. In this case, this is the result of me. It's 37%, which makes me a bit of an irrational, risk-averse person. We can do the same for everyone. There might be somebody here, somebody there. But what would happen is that everyone would have their individual preference towards risk calculated to the given moment, to the current moment. One important feature here is that the natural perception of risk is actually changing a long time, because the predisposition for risk-taking changes all the time. This was the psychological aspects of risk. What we have learned here was that, first of all, not on all rational approaches and quantitative approaches to solving a risky situation helps. There are irrationalities, or at least deviation from the general theory. Most important idea here is the so-called prospect theory, which makes persons different from the classical Homo economicus. Homo economicus is the person who likes return, likes reward, but does not like risk. And we saw that when we're speaking about losing propositions, people are really openly accepting the risky option, which means that the classical theory basically fails. And after that, we saw that this is a thing that happens not only with humans, but with animals used as a model of behavior. We saw the same with professional investors and with non-professional risk takers. And we saw that we could even calculate the individual preference towards risk for everyone. So now we conclude our psychological risk aspect.